Yes, thank you so much. This is a beautiful good morning, and good evening kule Jamhuri. Jitako Captain Joragawajeri, and this is the Trumpet of Hope. Today is a very special day here in the diaspora because the IEBC has kicked off the diaspora voter registration both in New York and also in Washington, D.C., and also in LA. And guess what? We'll be live with the team in Washington, D.C. Thereafter. But right now, I have two very special guys coming in live from Jamhuri who are diaspora returnees. They lived here in the diaspora, wakakaa huku wakafanya kazi, kisha baadaye wakarudi Jamhuri kufanya kazi. George Osewe, and who is a diaspora returnee from North Carolina, and John Maina, who is a diaspora returnee from Washington, D.C. And George Osewe right now is the chairman of Mbagathi National Mbagathi Hospital in Nairobi, and John Maina is the executive director, Center for Diaspora Affairs, kule Nairobi, Kenya. Good morning and welcome. My guests, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you. Hey, let me start with Bwana George Osewe. Tusalimie wananchi. Good morning, George Osewe.
Good morning, diaspora. But thank you much for having me. And I'm glad it's a good morning. It's also good news that IBC is finally allowing the diasporans to vote.
Yes.
As you all know, that our remittance hit a record every month, every time, and all the time. As a matter of fact, we are now the largest foreign exchange earner, surpassing all industries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to give it up to John Maina, who's been on the forefront of fighting for the registration and voting at the same time. And I'm glad I have him. Once I turn over the microphone to John, he'll be able to give you the, if I call the episodes, if you will, that leads to this big day.
Yes.
Now, it wasn't, and we are still fighting. We might not have had what we want, but at least it's an avenue. It's a start. And we believe and hope we will take it where we want it, because we own the money, and we own, and we just have the rights, just like the rest of the Kenyans.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, thank you again for welcoming me. Good morning again, America, or good morning, Washington, D.C., New York, Carolina in the house, and everywhere else. Looking forward to a fruitful discussion, and let's kick it on. Over to you. Thank you again. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you so much. Bwana John Maina, I know you have done a lot to bring this day to be, and we celebrate and we feel good. But like Osewe said, there is yet a lot to be done. But anyway, tell us a background of the whole of this.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, diaspora. From all over the world, I guess, are listening. We're here in Nairobi. As Captain said, it's good evening for us. It's about 5 o'clock now. I'm glad to participate in this show today. Thank you so much, Andrew, for inviting us as diaspora returnees. But let me give you a brief background on diaspora registration and voting. It started way back when we had formed an organization called KCA, Kenya Community Abroad, based in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
I think KCA was the first diaspora organization, maybe the first one and only one at that time. And we were able to do quite a few things for the diaspora during that tenure of KCA. We went to Bomas of Kenya in 2004 to propose dual citizenship and voting rights. Remember, all these things about diaspora registering and voting are enshrined on our articles of the Constitution, dual citizenship and voting rights. We went and fought for dual citizenship and voting rights at Boma's constitution, draft constitution in 2004. And we kept on fighting and pursuing it until 2010 is when it was promulgated. And we were glad that they decided to include dual citizenship and voting rights in the 2010 promulgated constitution. So we come a long way with these voting rights for diaspora. As my good friend Osewe said, we are halfway gone. The journey and the fight, to make sure that diaspora is well represented in the Constitution and it's inclusive. Our biggest concern is that sometimes diaspora is not regarded as fellow Kenyans. In spite of what Osewe said, diaspora remits almost $3.8 billion every year to the economy of Kenya. That's approximately 10% of the revenue of our country. So you would think sending 10% to the economy of the country, something as simple as voting rights, we shouldn't be fighting for that. It should be automatic. As long as you are Kenyan, you should be able to vote from anywhere in the world, as long as you are Kenyan. So that's what we've been fighting for since 2004. And as I said, we forced dual citizenship and voting rights petition into the draft constitution at that time, which eventually was passed and promulgated in 2010. We were very happy that at least they included that phrase, dual citizenship and voting rights. At first, we were just fighting for dual citizenship. Then we thought about it and said, wait a minute, if you have dual citizenship, you become a citizen, then you should be able to vote. That's how we included dual citizenship and voting rights. Because at that time, remember, diaspora were denied their rights of voting and representation. So we've come a long way in that journey, and we're halfway gone, because you can't select. You can't be selective in terms of inclusion of the diaspora and say only 10 or 12 or 13 countries in the diaspora will be able to vote. The Constitution is very clear. It says all Kenyans living abroad and living in Kenya should be able to vote in every successive election. Okay? There's no way in the Constitution it says that registering and voting diaspora should be progressive. I think they misunderstood what we proposed at Bomas, and I think it's IBC that twisted that phrase. When we said progressive, we meant that we were going to start in the first tier. We're going to start with the presidential elections only. Then the second election cycle, we're going to vote for the president and governor. Then successively or progressively, we were going to include a diaspora candidate or candidates. So we're going to vote for diaspora candidates, a governor, and the president, because those are things that touch in the hearts of the diaspora. I mean, we don't care much about members of parliament or MCAs, because actually it's irrelevant to vote for your member of parliament and you're in the diaspora. But every Kenyan come from a certain county we have 47 counties. And the diaspora, every diaspora comes from one of those 47 counties. So that's what we thought progressively after the presidential vote, we were going to include governors. Then the following cycle, we have 2 or 3 diaspora candidates to represent the diaspora. So we've come a long way in that journey, and it's not over.
Thank you so much, Bona John Maina. John Maina is one of the Kenyan leaders, and like he said, it has come a long way, and today marks the beginning or the kickoff of the diaspora registration. I know IBC has sent out the link for people to sign up and book for the appointment to go to LA, to go to Washington, D.C., and also to go to New York. I know it's a long journey, and some people are saying that it is far. Others are saying it is hard because, like Osewe, I don't know whether you know that we are supposed to have the current passport to go and register. We are also supposed to go to Washington, D.C., which is actually a long drive or a long flight. It is a bit expensive for some people, but I don't know whether I don't know what you would say in regards to the things that IBC requires. Do you think that we diasporians need to be given maybe a better deal than what they have at this time?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you again and thank John for outlining exactly what's needed. But we also have to know that this journey has not been easy. Now, there are sacrifices that people have to make just to make it work. Mm-hmm. Yes, we don't know the intention of the IEBC, but always they want us near the ballot for some reason. Now, if we get a chance like this, I will really encourage everybody. Like I say, it is a sacrifice. Sometimes you can rent a car 15-seater. We can find ways just to prove to them how we fought for this stuff so that they don't have an excuse or say, because definitely these guys look for excuse all the time. Oh, well, they don't want to do it. We don't want to. Now, Jonah says something very important, progressive. If we start, and still we are fighting, I mean, don't get me wrong. John and I and everybody else up to 2 weeks ago, even up to last week, we still went and had a meeting with Chebukati, especially when the path was not clear. And thanks to the Zoom meeting we had with the Right Honorable Prime Minister some last month, I guess, last year, sometimes in late November or early December. November, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you know, we know very well that Baba has been really pro-diaspora. As a matter of fact, Baba has, if you will, planted his presence in diaspora because he understands, remember he's also diaspora, and he understands the importance of not only remittances, but also the labor force, the workforce, the expertise of the diaspora. If you look at what Kenyans are doing amazing things out of the country, and we ask ourselves why we can't do it here, we don't know. But bottom line is, IBC even still today is actually trying to make us not vote for some reason. So what we need to do, and this is my advice to the diaspora, yes, whoever can make it, and we can actually have little, if you will, some kind of thinking outside the box, get together, get a count of 15 people, get wherever you can, to prove to them how important this process to us as we keep fighting for the better ways and to make it easy for us to vote. Remember, suppressing the vote is real, and maybe, and I'm saying maybe this is part of it. So on our part, let's do what we need to do to make sure that we sacrifice for this good venture that we fought for so long. And then as we do this, we will improve on ways and we'll keep fighting until whether there's online voting, whatever it is, to make it easier. But it's a beginning, as I said.
Thank you so much. Briefly, John, tell us the importance of we sacrificing, somebody in Seattle, Washington, sacrificing to go to LA to register as a Kenyan voter to vote for the president or the referendum, which, as you mentioned, is progressive.
First of all, let me remind the diasporans that being asked to travel, as you mentioned, many miles to register or to vote, that's unconstitutional. It's an illegality in the law and in our constitution. Remember what our constitution says. It's very clear that elections are supposed to be what? Free and fair. Free and fair. That's our constitution. Okay? Meaning you should not be able to fly from Alaska to Washington, D.C. to register or to vote because you've spent over $1,000 right there. Okay? Elections are supposed to be, again, what? Free and fair. Free, meaning you don't pay to go and vote or register. That's why here in Kenya, polling stations are where? In the next primary school next to your house. Okay? They are just within your walking distance from your house. It's the duty of IEBC, the election body, to bring the elections to the voters, not the other way around. Not the voters going chasing the polling station to get to the polling station. It's the other way around, okay? They're mandated by the constitution and by law to bring the polling stations to the nearest place at your of your residence. Okay, that's why most people vote from their neighborhood primary school or secondary school. Now, free and fair. Fair means you should not take several hours from your work schedule to go and vote. Okay. Now, like for example, the example I gave about a diaspora flying all the way from Alaska to Washington, D.C. That's like flying from Spain to go to South Africa to register. That's what, an 8-hour flight? Okay. Remember, diasporas, especially the US, are paid hourly. Now you've wasted 8 hours of your wage. That's not fair. So it's supposed to be accommodative. The election body is supposed to be accommodative, meaning it should make it as easy as possible for you to go and register and vote. So that's why I said it's a violation of the Constitution for you to be forced to fly from Alaska to Washington, D.C. That is why we have come up with a proposition to the election body that diaspora then should be given another option to be able to vote online so that they don't leave, so that it can be free and fair for them as well. Okay? Online voting will accommodate all members of the diaspora.
True.
All the 3 million members of the diaspora can vote from their neighborhoods or their house. As long as you have a smartphone or a laptop, you should be able to vote from your house or from your locale. So we are pressing on that. We even went and did a presentation to IEBC on voting on an online platform. That was in December of 2021. We did a presentation to them, and I will tell you, most of them were very excited because remember, some of these officers, IEBC officers, will be forced to travel also many miles away from their homes.
Yeah, right now
to
we
go
have...
and either, yes, exactly.
We have 6
run
of them,
a polling station.
Yeah.
Yes. So to be fair for both sides, on both sides, why can't we vote electronically? And we have several platforms you can do that. We have proposed e-Citizen, which is a government platform, to be modified to accommodate diaspora registration and voting. E-Citizen is a platform that has been used by members of the diaspora to renew documents, including their passports. So if you have faith in your passport, that when you apply your passport using e-citizen, you're gonna get it and send money, which will go, the exchequer will get it. Then why can't you do that on the, to register your vote?
But the
So I mean, it's doable.
But the act, the electoral, the IBC Act designates and says where a polling station should be. And I don't know whether there is any push for the change to this act so that we in the diaspora can be allowed, one, to vote or to register and vote in our localities, and two, to use documents rather than the prescribed one, the passport. Anyway, that is gonna happen maybe one day, but today
Well, let me. What you mentioned, those are IEBC policies. Okay, they are not cut in stone. They can be changed. They can be modified. So I can remember I told you, there's the law actually mandates them to accommodate the diaspora. Accommodation, meaning if you have to change those policies so that diaspora can be able to be accommodated, well and good. That's what they're supposed to do.
Beautiful.
So what you're reading now, those are IBC policy. They're not cast on stone. Be able to do that.
You hanged for a moment.
Yeah.
Very good. It is important to note that what John said. Yeah, you hanged for a minute. But Bwana Osewe, can you please add on what maybe should IBC do next, or even now, because we are still at on the first day of the registration?
Well, thank you again. Yeah, definitely, yes. I agree with John in every aspect of this. This is the world of technology. And I don't think voting in line is that complicated, no doubt about that, given the situation in respect to the United States. Now, we have ambassadors, we have consulars, we have government officials. The IEBC must use these people to map out areas that basically can, vote in person, and areas that cannot vote in person. That still can be done. We still have time. But most importantly, with this COVID time, yes, everybody can still vote.
I think George has hanged. Anyway, let me continue from where he left.
Maybe somebody
last weekend or the other weekend, when all the planes were actually down because of weather. We don't want any hindrances in any way to be an excuse of the IBC that we didn't do this for the diaspora because of ABC, whether it's in New York, whether it's in Washington, D.C., whether it's in LA, whichever part. So we emphasize on voting online, which can be secure to make sure our votes are safe. Then number two, we insist whereby we have ambassadors all over the world, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in the UK or European Union, or whether it's in the States, that can help these IBC guys to map out areas where there's majority of bigger population of Kenyans and make it easy for them and for them to vote so that they can have a voice in their country. But most importantly also, let me make this point very clear. When we talk of diaspora, people have a thought that is the United States or EU. We also have African diaspora. And as a matter of fact, in my opinion, we should use what we call compensatory consumption, whereby if you go to Tanzania, there are a lot of Kenyans in Tanzania. There are a lot of Kenyans in Uganda. There are a lot of Kenyans in South Africa. There's a lot of Kenyans within the diaspora of Africa that can make a change and can make a difference. So the question of making it complicated because of ABC should be out of question, so that we can use these Africans in African diaspora to actually actualize and make IBC more efficient than the way we want it, to secure every right of our diaspora citizens to vote just like our Kenyan counterparts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. John, I don't know whether you have anything else to add. Encourage people. You said that this is an important sacrifice so that we can show the Kenyan government, the IBC, that yes, we needed it, we wanted it, we asked for it, we can be able to deliver.
Oh, well, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, let's make it very clear. This is not the first time diaspora are voting in a general election. I think this will be the third time. Remember, as I said, we promulgated the 2010 Constitution so that dual citizenship and voting rights act can be effected. So the first diaspora elections, right to vote was in 2013 election, because 2010, we promulgated the Constitution. Then the next election cycle was 2013. 2013, diaspora voted in about 5 countries in East Africa only.
Yeah.
That was Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda, and South Sudan. Okay, so 2017 they included several other countries, including Botswana. Now 2022 they have included extra countries. Now we have US included, Canada, Germany, UAE, UK, and South Africa. But he mentioned South Africa. So we have almost 14 countries voting now. That will increase the number of diaspora who can be able to register and vote. And that's, of course, what IEBC calls it progressively, that they keep on adding an extra country or 2 or 3 every election cycle. Anyway, it's a good thing that more diasporans are being given an opportunity to register and vote. But let me remind you that the first election that diaspora participated was in 2013. And I can tell you it was a non-factor, because remember, diaspora are 3.8 million by now, probably. It used to be 3 million plus.
That's a huge voting block.
Yes. Now, can you imagine, in 2013, you know how many diasporans are registered and voted? 4,000. 4,000 is a fraction of 3 million Kenyans.
Sure.
Okay? So 2017, they voted 4,000. So we are hoping now that there are more countries included in the voting block.
Yes.
So we hope that we'll see some significant numbers. 4,000 is not a game changer. We want diaspora to be the game changer. In other words, they vote, they come out and vote. Well, let them be the Tharaka-Nithi of the Kenyan election. Okay?
That's funny.
Or should we say Florida? The Florida of
the US
Kenyan election.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Now,
of the US election. So
there's some good news.
There's good news, and I encourage the diasporans to take this opportunity. Of course, I would like them to vote in big numbers, and that is having access to online registration and voting. But it's not available right now, but we're still championing on that. But right now, let them come out in big numbers and go to the embassies and consulates and show our country, show our government that diaspora want to participate in the development of our country, not financially and monetarily only, but through other resources.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We want to wind up this particular short session. It was just a champion from Bwana Osewe, a diaspora returnee and championing for the rights of the diaspora people. And this is a good start. John Maina, a diaspora returnee from Washington, D.C. And so they know exactly what we mean when we say that it is a real sacrifice. And I hope that as IBC kicks off the registration, we'll be back later with the team in Washington, D.C. To see exactly what is happening. And I want to announce that the government has actually extended the deadline for the phasing out of the old generation passports. I know this was a very big issue because most of the people in the diaspora are still having the old generation passports because of the process of renewing the passport and going for the biometrics and everything else. So they have pushed it from 31st December to November 2022. So that means that maybe we can use the old generation passports to go and register and vote. And I think that is one of the things that we were championing for because of the issue of the e-passport. Many people don't have that. And I think that's good news. The way they have announced this issue.
No, let me add. Can I add, Andrew? I'm
Yes.
sorry for interrupting. We should also allow diasporans to use their identity cards
True.
for the ones who still have them. Okay, you can either use an ID card or a passport. Those are two legal documents that you should be able to use to register and vote. Okay, because for you to acquire that passport, you needed to have an ID.
And a birth
right?
certificate, yes.
You needed to have an ID card. So they should allow diaspora to use either one of the two.
Thank you so
I
much.
also need to just give one more concern, and sorry for interruption, just follow up on John, and maybe John can actually clarify this later. If you go to eCitizen, they always ask us to put a lock on number 254, and if 254 is lacking, it doesn't accept it. Can we just use Gmail or our emails and stuff like that, John? Can you jump in and clarify that? Because that's a huge hindrance, even for diasporans who come to try to log into the e-citizen.
No, we came up with a solution on that. Remember when we went to do a presentation on e-citizen to IEBC, of course, that was a challenge. You can access other phone numbers, international phone numbers. But anyway, we found a way to go around it. Remember, that number is supposed to be a verification system, okay? So we decided as a solution, we do away with the phone numbers and we have another verification tool, which is your email address, right? So you can have either your passport number or your email or your ID number as a verification to enter into eCitizen, and as well as your email, because your email is a unique identity as well. And then we do away with the international numbers.
That is very important.
Thank you.
And I hope that whatever we have said here is very important. And thank you so much, Bwana Osewe. Thank you so much, Bwana John Maina. I wish you the very good. I wish you a beautiful evening. I know it was, you are all on transit going to different places. Thank you so very much. And I look forward to hearing some good news from the registration centers in LA and also in Washington, D.C. I'm speaking this on behalf of the American, the Kenyans living here in the U.S. because I think the huge geographical area that we found ourselves in. But remember that the registration has kicked off in all the other regions, in Canada, in Australia, everywhere where Kenyans are. You can go to the embassy or consular and you will be able to register as a voter. What do you require? If you're not in East Africa right now, you require your ID or your passport. But if you're a Kenyan living outside the East African region, you are required to go with your passport to go and register. As per now, not unless anything changes. So just go there, register, and it will be good. They will be back shortly thereafter with the team in IBC, members in the officers in Washington, D.C., and also the ambassador to hear and to see the launching thereafter. Thank you so much. Bwana Osewe, final words?
Yeah, my final word is to the fellow diasporans. Please appeal to your families back here at home as well to go get their IDs and vote. You remember, there's a little bit of slowness, but if you participate in not voting, you're enabling an inept and corrupt government. Encourage them so that we fight this voter apathy, so we can bring back the country that we all want, as we know we're in diaspora because of what we call economic asylum. So we believe, and I preach on this, that if we vote in the right people, this will go away and it will enable us to come back home and build Kenya. Remember, East or West, home is best. I love you guys. Take care.
Thank you so much. John, I don't know whether you have closing remarks.
Sure. My closing remarks is to remind members of the Kenya diaspora to take this opportunity to go and register so that in another 6 months, they'll be able to vote. Let me also mention that we have been trying to sensitize members of the diaspora through various means, social media, including a Zoom meeting we had with the former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, where we had almost 250 Kenyans in the diaspora who participated in that town hall meeting with the former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga. And in that town hall meeting, he emphasized that diasporans need to be allowed to register and vote and participate in the development of our country, not only financially, but also through their right to vote. Now, as you mentioned, polling stations are opening, I think, on 21st. Yeah, they opened on 21st.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we would like to hear, or to hear how they were able to mobilize, or how many Kenyans are going to the polling stations, so that we can monitor those numbers and see if there's something else that needs to be done. If there are any challenges, we'd like to know so that we can sit back and come up with adequate solutions to enable the diaspora to be able to register and be able to vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll personally be going out to register and see what is happening. But before then, at around 11 a.m. Local time, that is Central Standard Time, that is 12 noon, we'll be live with the ambassador to see exactly what is happening in Washington, D.C. So thank you so much, Bwana Maina, John, and you really encourage us to be diaspora returnees. You really encourage us. Bwana Osewe, thank you so much. And this is very, very good. So thank you. Let us continue to champion people to register and vote back even in the country. And we do exactly what is supposed to be done. We take our civic duty and make a change or decide on the next, the leadership that will take over our country for the next 5 years, because they determine where Kenya will be in the next few years. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too now.